What's up, my comic comrades? The highly anticipated Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness is hitting theaters, so before we hit concessions and find out where this crazy looking ride takes us, we're going to recap everything we've seen from Doctor Strange in the MCU so far, and how his part of the story leads up to the events in this movie. Basically a MCU Doctor Strange refresher. So let's dive in, shall we? Doctor Strange has appeared in a total of 6 MCU films thus far, which are Doctor Strange, Thor Ragnarok, Avengers Infinity War, Avengers Endgame, Spider-Man No Way Home, and now Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. We were also introduced to a new and seemingly important alternate reality version of him named Strange Supreme in the Disney Plus Marvel animated series What If, the events of which take place just after the Loki series in the MCU timeline. So Strange has become a major player in Marvel's overall story, but let's go back to the beginning. The Master of the Mystic Arts was introduced to the Marvel Cinematic Universe in 2016's Doctor Strange, directed by Scott Derrickson and starring Benedict Cumberbatch as the title character, Dr. Stephen Strange. In Doctor Strange's title movie, we obviously get his origin, as this is his big film introduction. His backstory is very similar to his comic book origins, as we're introduced to an extremely successful and wealthy neurosurgeon named Dr. Stephen Strange. And like some extremely successful and talented people, he was arrogant. And his arrogance led him to crashing his Lamborghini while he was driving and debating which patient he should take next based on which would make him look better and elevate his surgeon status. We all know it's important not to text and drive. Well, I think it's safe to say you shouldn't examine x-rays and drive either. A lesson he learns the hard way, because while he was doing exactly that, he hit another car at high speed, which caused his Lamborghini to fly off a cliff and the front dashboard to crush his hands on impact. He lived, but this permanently disfigured and ruined his hands, leaving him unable to operate ever again. His former girlfriend, Dr. Christine Palmer, tried to help Stephen cope and move on with his life now that he can no longer be a surgeon. But come on, we know that isn't gonna happen. Strange just ignored her and instead sought out experimental surgeries to heal his hands. Despite all best efforts, nothing works. And just as Stephen is about to give up, he learns about a paraplegic man named Jonathan Pangborn who was miraculously healed of a major spinal injury. As he dives into his case, he realizes that Pangborn was actually a patient that he had refused to help previously, as he thought he had little to no chance of recovery. So he is shocked when he verifies that he in fact mysteriously regained his ability to walk. So Strange hunts Pangborn down and asks how he regained full use of his legs. After a brief conversation, he tells Strange the place he seeks is Kamar-Taj, which is clearly the place Pangborn was healed. So obviously Strange goes there, but when he arrives, the Eels try to steal his watch, but Mordo stops them, giving him his watch back, saying, "You're looking for Kamar-Taj," and takes him there. Strange then finds out that Mordo works out for the Ancient One, who he is soon introduced to. The Ancient One tells him the way to be healed is through the mind and the power of belief. But he replies saying, "I do not believe in fairy tales about chakras," at which point the Ancient One demonstrates her power to Strange by pushing his astral form out of his physical form. She then pulls him back in and explains, "For a moment you enter the astral dimension, a place where the soul exists apart from the body." He's still hesitant, thinking she spiked his tea with LSD. She then sends him through several other dimensions, and when she brings him back, he says, "Teach me." But she denies him at first before reluctantly agreeing to train him due to the fact that Strange's ambition and arrogance reminds her of the rogue sorcerer Caecilius, who just so happens to be the villain of the movie. Long story short, we all know what happens from here. Strange studies under the Ancient One and Baron Mordo, as well as doing all the research he can from the ancient books in the library that is guarded by Master Wong. Strange then proves himself a quick study, learning how to bend time with the mystical eye of Agamotto. He also acquires the Cloak of Levitation and battles Caecilius with his newly gained abilities. Along the way, Mordo becomes disillusioned with the Ancient One after Strange reveals that she was deriving her power from the Dark Dimension in order to sustain her long life. This is ultimately the push Mordo needed to become a villain. After this, Caecilius kills the Ancient One. Before she dies, she tells Strange he's gonna have to bend the rules while working with Mordo's steadfast nature in order to defeat Caecilius. By the end, Strange, with the help of Mordo and Wong, defeat Caecilius and Dormammu, giving us the famous "Dormammu, I've come to bargain" line.
Dormammu, I've come to bargain.
After this, Doctor Strange takes up residence in the New York Sanctum to continue his studies and watch for threats on Earth. Then in the post-credit scene, we see Doctor Strange, who is wearing his classic yellow gloves from the comics, mind you, meet up with Thor. He tells Thor, "So I keep a watch list of individuals and beings from other realms that may be a threat to this world. And your adopted brother Loki is one of those beings." Thor says, "A worthy inclusion." Strange asks, "Yeah, so why bring him here to New York?" Thor says, "It's a bit of a long story. Family drama, that kind of thing, but we're looking for my father." Strange goes on to ask, "Oh, okay, so if you found Odin, you'd all return to Asgard promptly?" Thor says, "Oh yes, promptly." And it ends with Doctor Strange saying, "Great, allow me to help." This brings us to Doctor Strange's second appearance in the MCU, which is obviously Thor Ragnarok. We basically see an expanded version of the post-credit scene in Doctor Strange with his interaction with Thor. We learned that when Thor and Loki came to New York, Strange trapped Loki in a falling portal and then invites Thor into his New York sanctum. He proceeds to question Thor on his motives, explaining that Loki is a threat to Earth and they need to go. Thor says they're just searching for their father, so Strange finds him and releases Loki and then creates a portal to send both of them to Norway. And that's the extent of Doctor Strange's involvement in Thor Ragnarok. Very short, but really cool nonetheless. And again, we got to see him wear his classic yellow gloves as given to him by the great Steve Ditko in his first appearance in Strange Tales issue 110. Anyway, this brings us to Doctor Strange's third appearance in the MCU, which is Avengers Infinity War from 2018. Within the first 10 minutes of the film, we see Strange and Wong heading out of the New York Sanctum to get a sandwich at a deli. But before they could leave, Bruce Banner comes crashing through their roof, telling them that Thanos is coming. Strange asks, who? We are then taken to Tony Stark and Pepper Potts, who are having a conversation, but it's interrupted by Doctor Strange, who comes through a portal basically saying, Tony, we need your help. The whole fate of the universe is at stake. Tony is hesitant, but Banner comes walking through as well, saying, Tony, it's true. We need you. Tony goes with Strange and Banner back to his New York Sanctum, where we see Wong and Strange explain what the Infinity Stones are and how they work. Tony, realizing that Thanos is trying to collect all 6 stones and devastate the cosmos, asks, what's the timeline? And Banner tells him, no telling. He has the power in space stones. That already makes him the strongest creature in the whole universe. If he gets his hands on all 6 stones, Tony, and Strange interrupts saying he could destroy life on a scale hitherto undreamt of. As they continue to discuss their game plan on keeping the stones away from Thanos, 2 members of the Children of Thanos arrive in New York City, Ebony Maw and Cull Obsidian. They invaded New York to take the Time Stone from Doctor Strange, which resides in the Eye of Agamotto. While there in New York, Peter Parker's Peter Tingle goes off, and he arrives to help Strange, Tony, Wong, and Banner. Ebony Maw is able to capture Strange, but is unable to take the stone from him due to the enchantment Strange placed on it. So he takes Strange in his spaceship to torture him until he breaks the spell or Strange releases it. But come on, this is the Avengers. It ain't over till it's over. And Iron Man and Spider-Man go after Strange and infiltrate the ship, kill Maw, and rescue Strange. After saving Strange, they have a run-in with Star-Lord, Drax, and Mantis, who also invaded Maw's ship looking for Thanos and Gamora. The 6 of them start fighting before realizing they're all on the same side. Anyway, they then land on planet Titan, where they're waiting for Thanos to show up, and while they wait, the 6 of them form a plan to fight and beat Thanos once he arrives. Meanwhile, Strange uses his time stone to see into the future to watch all the possible outcomes in the coming conflict. Star-Lord asks, how many did you see? Strange answers, 14,605,000. Tony then asks, how many did we win? Strange replies, 1. Eventually, Thanos shows up and they enact their plan. And their plan almost worked and would have worked if it wasn't for a pissed off Quill finding out that Thanos had just killed Gamora, which causes Quill to attack Thanos, knocking him out of the trance Mantis had put him in. After this, Doctor Strange has a brief one-on-one duel with Thanos, but Thanos beats him and severely wounds Iron Man right after. Strange then says to Thanos, spare his life and I will give you the stone. Thanos agrees as Tony tells Strange not to, but he does it anyway, and with that, Thanos takes the Time Stone, now only needing the Mind Stone. Thanos then teleports back to Earth to get a 6th and final stone from Vision's head. Meanwhile, on Titan, Tony asks Strange, why would you do that? He replies, we're in the Endgame now. Then back on Earth, Thanos arrives and inevitably defeats the Avengers, taking the Mind Stone from Vision's head. Thor, in a last-ditch effort, throws Stormbreaker and drives it through Thanos' chest, at which point Thanos gives us the infamous line, you should have gone for the head, and then snaps his fingers, accomplishing his goal of getting rid of half the universe, bringing his twisted form of balance to the galaxy, allowing there to be enough resources for those that are left. Back on planet Titan, we see that Doctor Strange is one of the many Avengers to fade away in the blip, telling Stark before he disintegrates, there was no other way. This brings us to the sequel of Avengers Infinity War, 2019's Avengers Endgame. In this film, 5 years have passed and everyone left on Earth is still coping with the loss of friends, family, and loved ones. But Tony Stark, Captain America, Ant-Man, the Hulk, Black Widow, and Hawkeye band together to undo what Thanos did. And as we all know by now, they were of course successful by going back in time and regathering all the Infinity Stones. They then came back to the present to put them in Iron Man's Nano Gauntlet, and the Hulk puts on said Nano Gauntlet, then snaps his fingers to undo what Thanos did, just as the past version of Thanos comes to the present to stop them. If that's confusing, welcome to time travel, everyone. Anyway, after Thor, Iron Man, and Captain America fail to take out Thanos, Captain America is the last man standing, facing off against Thanos and his entire army. But this is Cap, the freaking first Avenger. He ain't giving up even in the face of death. As he likes to say, he can do this all day. And just as he's about to go to battle with Thanos and his entire army alone, he gets a radio call from Falcon saying, Cap, can you hear me? On your left. As Doctor Strange's portals open up all over the place and characters like Black Panther, Falcon, Doctor Strange himself, the Guardians of the Galaxy, Spider-Man, Winter Soldier, and every other Avenger who disintegrated in the blip returns to fight by Captain America's side as he gives the single greatest Avengers Assemble call ever, while summoning Mjolnir, at which point the Avengers get to work. While the single greatest battle in comic book live-action history happens, Doctor Strange keeps the battlefield from being flooded by the lake, and even hints to Tony Stark by holding one finger up that this is the one future where they win. Stark then knows what he has to do and is able to steal the stones back from Thanos, and now possessing them on his own gauntlet, snaps his fingers, wishing Thanos and his armies away, saving reality. One of the saddest yet greatest moments in comic book movie history. I teared up. I'm not gonna lie, that happened. This movie actually made me tear up several times. It is what it is. Anyway, after this, the last time we see Doctor Strange in the MCU film before Multiverse of Madness is, of course, Spider-Man No Way Home. In 2021's No Way Home, we learned that Doctor Strange is no longer the Sorcerer Supreme. We find out that because Strange was gone for 5 years due to the blip, Wong had to take over and accept the title of Sorcerer Supreme in his absence, and is still the Sorcerer Supreme in Spider-Man No Way Home, and even going into Multiverse of Madness. Spider-Man No Way Home picks up exactly where Spider-Man Far From Home left off, with Spider-Man's secret identity being revealed to the world by Quentin Beck, aka Mysterio. Peter, who saved the world with Doctor Strange, gets the idea to visit him so he can cast a spell that would make the world forget he's Spider-Man. Strange agrees, despite Wong telling him the spell he's going to use to do that is pretty dangerous. Turns out Wong was right, because when Strange is performing the spell, it backfires due to Peter distracting Strange while he's performing it, saying, "Well, I want MJ to still remember I'm Spider-Man, and Ned, and Aunt May," making Strange alter the spell on the fly several times, which leads to Strange inadvertently breaking open the multiverse, causing several characters from alternate realities that know Peter Parker / Spider-Man to enter the main MCU universe. This then brings Spider-Man villains from the Tobey Maguire Spider-Verse and the Amazing Spider-Man Andrew Garfield films. So we end up getting Dr. Octopus, Sandman, Green Goblin, the Lizard, and Electro all coming after Tom Holland's Spider-Man. We even see that Tom Hardy's Eddie Brock from the Sony Venom films is brought to the MCU, but he never comes into conflict with Spider-Man. It's just a tease at the end of the movie. Anyway, when Doctor Strange realizes this breach between universes, he begins rounding up and imprisoning the villains so he can send them back to their home universe all at the same time. But when he explains the situation to Tom Holland's Spider-Man, and Peter learns that most will die upon returning to their reality, Peter steals the relic Strange is using to contain the reversal spell, which leads to the two of them fighting inside the mirror dimension. In the middle of the fight, Peter realizes that everything in the mirror dimension is constructed by geometric shapes, and that he could use his knowledge of geometry to his advantage. He actually says to Strange, "You know what's cooler than magic? Math," just as he uses his webbing to steal Doctor Strange's sling ring and escapes the mirror dimension, trapping Strange inside. Shortly after this, Ned gets a hold of the sling ring Spider-Man stole from Doctor Strange and tries to use it. And to everyone's surprise, he gets it to work, opening up two portals, which leads to a massive moment for us Spider-Man fans, because the two portals open to Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man and Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, giving us something us Spider-Man fans only dreamed of seeing: all three live-action Spider-Men on screen at the same time, fighting side by side. But I digress. This episode is all about Doctor Strange, so let's stay focused. Anyway, as the three versions of Spider-Man are fighting all the Spider-Man villains that have been brought here from alternate realities, Ned releases Doctor Strange from the mirror dimension, and needless to say, Strange isn't thrilled with how things are going as he sees alternate versions of Spider-Man fighting the villains. At this point, the Green Goblin destroys Strange's relic, which results in the multiverse continuing to break wide open. Parker, as a last-ditch effort to restore things back to normal, or at least somewhat normal, tells Doctor Strange to reattempt the spell, but this time have everyone in the world, including Strange himself, forget about Peter Parker's existence in general. Strange is initially hesitant and warns Peter of the cost, but eventually agrees and does the spell anyway, which of course results in the alternate versions of Peter Parker and their corresponding villains to return back home to their universes. Everyone from the universe, including Strange himself, forgets about Peter Parker's existence, effectively kind of rebooting Peter Parker's Spider-Man in the MCU, as he's starting from ground zero all over again. But that is where we left Doctor Strange in the MCU, and from what we could tell from the Multiverse of Madness trailers, Strange is dealing not only with the ramifications of the multiversal spells that went wrong in No Way Home, but seemingly all the events that have been unfolding across the MCU, especially in Loki, WandaVision, and What If. And with the tease for the introduction of the Illuminati, including Patrick Stewart's Professor X, the possibility of the Scarlet Witch turning to the dark side, and the addition of America Chavez and her power set into the mix, I'm very curious to see exactly where the MCU takes Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. It's shaping up to be one of the best looking MCU movies ever, in my personal opinion. Anyway, that wraps up our Doctor Strange MCU recap, from his beginnings in the original Doctor Strange movie all the way up to his most recent appearance in Spider-Man No Way Home. And now that we've all gotten a refresher, let us know what some of your theories are for Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness down in the comments. And that's going to bring today's episode of Variant to a close, but if you enjoyed today's video, check out this one right here. And if you like all of our content, subscribe, like, and comment. It always helps us out. But other than that, I'll see you guys next time when I talk about all things comics.